night or late afternoon after the market closed, bits and pieces started coming out. Wall Street Journal put out a story about Vince McMahon's potential return to WWE. And that has now become that he is returning to WWE, and already things are in place. This is a developing story as we're talking, so maybe things will change by the end of this. We're recording this early morning on a Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. By the time the podcast is out within 2 hours, I'm hoping a lot doesn't change because I want this to be fresh information, but it is what it is. So, Rich, you did not expect this today.
I'm here. No, you know what? It's fine because I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna be the fan and I'm gonna pepper in some questions because it's not the return people are thinking of. You know, when you see Vince McMahon returns, automatically folks will say he's gonna be on TV. He's taking Triple H's job. No. This is very corporate. This is all about the money, as it should be, right?
You know, I even had a bit here because I was like, oh, it's all about the Monet today. I was going to do one of these, and I was going to throw a stack of 20s on you.
Uh-huh.
That was my bit, and obviously you're not here now, so everything is ruined. All right. Let's start off here.
Okay.
Wall Street Journal yesterday put out information that Vince McMahon had informed the WWE Board of his intent to return to help facilitate a rights deal or a potential sale. I'm gonna touch on this again, okay? About the sale part, because I felt that it was more strong-arming than anything else, that he could start a sale, or we'll get to this. He'll take on the role as executive chairman, which is a very powerful role in the company. A lot of people are constantly asking me, is she going to do creative? If he is the executive chairman of the board, this man has tremendous power. And at the end of the day, he still controls 80-something% of the shares, the Class B shares. There's nobody more powerful than Vince McMahon in WWE. So, of course, he's going to have a hand in creative and what TV's doing and what everything is happening. It's not like he's only going to deal with money. No, he's going to be very hands-on. Also, so he's going to take the executive chairman position right now. Also, this is the fascinating part, right? Returning to the board will be Michelle Wilson and George Barrios. Michelle Wilson and George Barrios were co-CEOs of the company. And up until 2020, they were there. Barrios was there for a long time. Wilson came in. Wilson had a good financial background. Same thing with Barrios. And they were let go around the time of the, in early 2020, or was it 2019? I can't remember when they were let go, but I
want to say 2020.
They were let go from a long-term position. So the shakeup started then. This morning, Joe Ellen Dillon, Jeffrey Speed, and Alan Wexler were removed from the board. Or will be vacating the board. Do you want to read the direct quote from Vince on this?
Here's a direct quote from Vince McMahon. WWE is entering a critical juncture in its history with the upcoming media rights negotiations coinciding with increased industry-wide demand for quality content and live events, and with more companies seeking to own the intellectual property on their platform. So in a nutshell, somebody wants to buy WWE. The only way for WWE to fully capitalize on this opportunity is for me to return as executive chairman and support the management team in negotiating our media rights and to combine that with a review of strategic alternatives. My return will allow WWE, as well as any transaction counterparties, to engage in these processes, knowing they will have the support of the controlling shareholder.
Yeah.
WWE has an exceptional management team in place, and I do not intend for my return to have any impact on their roles, duties, or responsibilities. So Andrew, break that down. From my perspective, and I'm not a corporate guy. I don't do corporate speak.
Okay.
He's basically saying, hey, listen, if you want to sell the company, I need to be the one there to do it because I have the relationships that I've already established over the past 50, who knows how many years.
Yeah. By the way, I'm having some problems with my camera here. Rich, I'm frozen. So I'm going to do my best to explain it here, and I'm going to put the camera on you while I try to figure out what the hell's going on. Pretty much, he's I mean, all he's saying is, I'm not going to fire anybody. I'm not going to shake up the structure of the company. I'm not going to change the responsibilities. He's not coming in as CEO. He's not coming in to shake it up because the structure is fine, but he will be the chairman of the board. I mean, you don't get more powerful than that, really. And he has, 80-something% of the Class B share, and he's, essentially it's his company. It's a publicly traded company, but it's his company, essentially. So McMahon sent out 2 letters to the board of directors in late December, so he wrote this to the board, and then the board responded back with essentially, I don't want you to do this. We don't want you to do this. And he essentially said in his second letter, he goes, unless I have direct involvement and input as executive chairman from the outset, I will not be able to support or approve any media rights deals or strategic transactions. So he blocked the company.
Yeah.
He said, okay.
He basically said, let me remind you who I am.
Let me remind you who I am and what kind of power I have. You will not get a TV deal because I have to approve it because he... essentially, and also he put in a new byline where it says that the voting, you have to now vote on TV deals and any kind of sale. The shareholders have a say in it. So
now, is that unprecedented or
it's not unprecedented? No,
okay.
It depends. I mean, he pulled that card out of nowhere to kind of lock him in because he controls the Class B share. So, of course, if he wants to sell it, he's going to be able to. Of course, he wants a TV deal, he's going to be able to. And if he doesn't want it, you're not getting it.
In order for him to assume the role of executive chairman upon returning, WWE's board of directors would need to approve it. That's where we are. There are 11 board seats, so he needs 6 yes votes.
He needs 6
Majority
yes votes. Yeah. This is fascinating stuff. I'm very fascinated by this.
So essentially, like I said, we were joking around before the show started. He's essentially doing what his buddy the Donald did. He's loading up the board with people that he can get yes from.
Well, I mean, that's essentially, any kind of company like this, we're not talking about Apple or Microsoft that have such a public facing, every move that they make is a detriment or a positive to the company. I think for WWE, when you have a creator like this, like it's his company, he created the company and he put it in a way where, he got ousted, but he really couldn't have been ousted. He only did it during the investigation. His attorneys, and he feels that there's nothing there. WWE does not feel the same. They feel that there is something there, and they even stated in the letter to him that you can't really do much without McMahon at this point.
Right. So, once again, he's making himself the focal point of, his company. Fascinating stuff. Yeah. This is from $10 from Schreier here. Hello, my sweet potato Matmen brothers. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. If Vince returns to run the show, how will he book the main events of WrestleMania? Use your inner Vince voice.
Well, I'm going to touch on some... That's going to be hard for me to do because Vince will be very involved with WrestleMania. I always thought he would be involved with WrestleMania. I always thought they would bring him in for WrestleMania to be in some sort of, position for it. Whether or not I don't know if this changes a positive or negative. I don't know.
Well, there's also old school talent that don't want to work with anybody else but Vince as the man in charge. Yeah,
that's something that really there's a lot of talent that would prefer to work with Vince than anybody else. I know that we've heard this before. I'm not naming names, but would Dwayne want to work with Vince over working with Nick and Steph and Hunter? Would Austin want to work with Vince rather than, Nick, Steph, and Hunter? I don't know. Maybe. Possibly.
Okay. So, in order for him to, let's go back to that point that we were trying to make. In order for him to assume the role of executive chairman upon returning, WWE's board of directors would need to approve it. There are 11 board seats, so he needs 6 yes votes.
He's gonna get it. I mean, unless they attempt, to kind of block this in some sort of legal way and fight it and delay it. But if he truly has I gotta look. I don't know what their bylines. I don't know what their laws are within the company. I don't know, but if he has 81% of the shares, he has all the power. I don't see how they won't vote him, because he'll block a sale or he'll block a TV deal. This is a coup, essentially, right? It's a coup d'etat. I don't know how, what does this mean for Hunter? What does this mean for Steph? What does this mean for Nick Khan? I could tell you the last time I met with WWE or anybody from that company, nobody wanted him back. And I was told that people that were his allies in that company are far happier now than they were previously. And their jobs have gotten a lot easier without Vince's, I guess, direction. It's more relaxed to work in that company.
People could breathe easier.
What?
People could breathe easier.
I was told that people, like, he was a great example of what I was told. People are not afraid to go, like, to be like, hey, I need a couple days off. Right? That's like a very bottom end thing. But that morale kind of trickles, and they have been on a high. WWE's been on a high this entire year. At least the second half of the year. The perception of that company has changed. They're becoming modernized. Their booking is getting fixed. And I don't know, listen, and I can't attribute that to Vince leaving or not, because it could just be that somebody had a hot idea and there's a hot program and they're continuing it. But these are all positives. And we saw the shift when they announced that Vince was leaving. We saw that shift happen immediately, where people are like, wow, finally, right? WWE's changing.
Yeah.
Now, what are we going to get? This is going to get ugly. I can't see this being, a super smooth transition and full welcome to Vince right now.
No, not at all. It is going to get ugly. It's going to be, he's going to live to be his character in certain regards, I think, as far as perception goes, for a lot of people, probably. This is from Kyle Masters. This is a good one with regards to the sale. Who do we think Vince would be selling to?
I don't have any information that I was told, and I wouldn't, even if I did. But my guess would be, which I honestly don't know anything about a sale or who would be the suitor for them. But I would imagine it would be Peacock. Vince has a very strong relationship with NBC, and I could tell you when Vince left, there were key people within that company that were very disappointed that Vince was leaving.
I feel like that's the obvious answer. I've said this for years. I would go with Disney. I feel like it's good. It's going to be Disney at the end of the day. For some reason, I just have like that weird feeling. We have Han Stoli.
Disney. Here's the problem. Disney is looking to offload ESPN. They're looking to get out of the sports market now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't see it becoming Disney.
Here's another one from Chris Farrell. Would Vince involved again be a perk for a buyer?
It depends on who the buyer is.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me fix my focus here, because my focus is so wacky.
It definitely depends on who the buyer is. If you have these old school business guys, of course they're going to want Vince. Even if it's like a young executive, they'll probably want Vince. It's very fascinating. Again, I can't speak for myself. I'm not a corporate person. I don't get involved in corporate dealings, and I never have. But again, from my perspective, who knows? But I would love it to be Disney. I just think only because I've been saying it for years.
What was the last question? Vince's involvement? Yeah, I think there is a perk for certain people, depending on who he wants to sell to and for what price. Nick has said publicly that he's for, if the right price comes, he'll sell. I don't know necessarily, or think, maybe the sale thing is a kind of like strong arming them in a way. Like if I won't approve anything.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's going to end up being Disney, right? That's where you're going.
Like I said, only because I've said that on this show for a number of years.
All right.
I want to toot my own horn over here. How will this affect AEW? Positive?
Yeah. I mean, listen, the grass isn't always greener, right? And when Vince leaving changed that perspective for WWE, where a lot of talent, listen, we saw it, right? We saw it, and we know, and we've spoken about who's considered leaving. We've heard those names. Andrade is a possibility. Miro's a possibility. Malachi was out the door, and then he came, everything that I've heard, a lot of these guys went over there. The second Vince left and Hunter was in charge of creative, they immediately wanted to see if there's a way that they could get out. I'm not naming those names. I'm not saying that those are the people, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just naming WWE names that went over there. Some of them possibly, yes. I actually, some of them are names that called over and, they've considered and they've spoken to people, not in an official capacity, but like their unhappiness with AEW. Mm-hmm. This is an upside for Tony. This is another, and it's also, here's the other thing, right? You're in a TV deal. You're going into a TV year. Your competition is having this bizarre corporate structure fall apart. It kind of makes you look a little bit more in control. If you're Turner, obviously you have this animosity towards WWE always because it's another property. You're going up against Peacock, which they're all competing. You have this property. This may boost AEW to say, "Wow, look, we could really not AEW, but Warner Discovery. Hey, listen, we have a great property here. We could compete with WWE if Vince is back because of all the negative that they've heard." Anything could happen right now. Both companies are in contract years. That is why this is happening today. That is why Vince is wants to be back in the mix here. But it's also his company, and he waited. He sent this letter out December 27th originally. The board responded. He responded back on the 31st, and now we're 6-7 days later. And the story is that he's back. Can you take the lower? I spoke to a couple people there last night and this morning. This morning I got a nice little input, but talent not very thrilled over this. They many of the talent felt that they were finally getting over this Vince leaving hump and things were kind of moving forward without distractions. And now here's another crazy distraction and possible stop and go. Listen, Vince will always be involved with creative. Even if he came out and said, "I have nothing to do with creative anymore," I would not believe it. How can you not? It's like, dude, somebody's doing, let's say we get another show on the network and I'm not really involved with that show. I don't do anything with that show, but I don't like the direction they're going in. I'm going to make them stop.
Right.
It's still my company. It's still Vince's company. And for good, bad, I don't know what the outcome is going to be for creative, but I would assume it's not going to be great. So you had a 40-year-old man, 75-year-old man writing television that's catering to teenagers and 18 into, a hot demo.
But also, it's a 75-year-old man that can't sit on his hands.
No,
right?
A 75-year-old billionaire. 75-year-old billionaire that can't sit on his hands.
And, for better or for worse, like that's the guy you're dealing with. And that's nuts in and of itself.
And also, this is interesting because, Vince let go of a lot of people that he did not see in a key position. And those people are back now.
Yeah.
What happens now? WWE stock is blown up 17% up.
I wonder what the vibe is in the office right now and amongst the talent.
I can tell you it's very tense in the office right now. A lot of people are scrambling to kind of put this together. There's also a all employees Zoom meeting scheduled for later this afternoon.
Oh Christ.
I mean, this is the real succession. You want to talk about a movie about a family business that becomes $1 billion business. This is it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you could donate by leaving a super thanks, which is located below. For more videos like this, full episodes of the Mat Men podcast, all our specials and extras, be sure to like and subscribe below or wherever you find your podcasts.